Welcome to EdotGdot and Friends. My name is Elden Killian and I'll be your host today. Today we are going to continue our journey of trying to rank every board game that I have played in the last 10 years. This list is called Not Exactly Good. This is our third tier from the bottom. And these are games that are better than the last two videos. But we're still not talking about great games yet. So you'll probably hear some good words here of some games. I'll try to be upbeat about some of them. But again, these are not top tier games in my estimation. Again, the caveat is always, this is my feelings about these games, and your feelings might be different. You might oppose me vociferously. Feel free to talk about it in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Number one, Kobayakawa. This was an interesting, almost like a trick-taking game. You're trying to play a card and win with some numbers. Only played it once, so I don't super remember it, but I felt like it was interesting. But I also felt like it wasn't interesting enough that I wanted to keep playing it. Anyway, Kobayakawa, it's number 527. Samurai Sword, number 526. This is an update to Bang in a different world. I believe it supports a smaller player count, if I'm remembering that correctly. Why do I like this better than Bang? Hard to say. Probably just that my play of it wasn't as insufferable as my play of Bang was. I think we had a slightly bigger group. I think we had 6 people in this play. It went pretty well. I'm pretty sure I did not win, but it just wasn't. I think when I got out, the game wrapped up pretty quickly after that. But yeah, it's a social deduction game, kind of, where you're on separate teams, but you're trying to figure out who your teammates are and trying to win. I don't know. Again, not exactly a great game for me. But anyway, next one, Yago Pool. This is like a little pool table. You flick it or push it with your fingers. These balls, and you're trying to get 3 in a row or get the majority of your balls in the little slots in the table. My friend brings us to our gaming weekend that we have every year, and so it always gets played at least once a year. I'm not very good at it, but it's fun. You know, if you like billiards or like pool, it can be fun, but it's also super frustrating. And this is probably like a skill thing, but I watched a lot of people play, and it's difficult. It's difficult to play, and it has some issues on that end, which is why it's probably I don't rank it higher. But if you're trying to kill some time in between games, the Yago Pool is not a bad way to do it. World of Tanks Rush. I played this with an uncle, actually my ex-wife's uncle, and her brother, and it's fine. It's like a deck builder, and it just didn't grab me very much. It was fine-ish, I felt like there was a strategy there that I didn't pick up on until the end. I don't think there's enough variability. Like, I love Dominion. You're gonna see it much later on this list. There's so much variability, and like the cards play so well together. I felt like this one just sort of a half-baked deck builder. Anyway, word search, number 523. You have these things, and you're trying to find words, and then you get to put your little plastic tokens on there. And it's doing a word search. However you feel about that, there's some rules in there. I don't know. Word searches are fun. Wits and Wagers, number 522. I've only played like the original rules version, where like you have like the bets and they can get kind of crazy. And This game does hold up well to the premise that it's a trivia game where you don't have to know all the answers. And maybe if I played the newer versions that have the more limited betting rules, I might like it better. But I felt like the gambling in this game gets to a point where like it's just too crazy, and it's I imagine that's why they changed it. And so I don't know, Wits and Wagers. I've never tried like the huge group one where you're working with teams. It's a fine trivia game. It is what it is. Number 521, Shadows in the Forest. I own a copy of Shadows in the Forest, this version shown in the picture, but I actually played the German one with the little tea lights in it. I can't even Watzelnacht or something like that. I don't know. But this is an interesting little game where you're using like the pieces have lights and you're moving the lights around to see where the characters are. So if the light is shining and something's visible, and so you're trying to move things around. I think the problem I had with this is it was a 1 versus 1 game, and that whole back and forth thing isn't something I love. The lights was an interesting thing, but I felt like there was some, like, I don't know, the rules interpretation maybe wasn't, or the way that actually plays out isn't as good as I'd hoped it was. And anyway, Shadows in the Forest, not exactly good. Number 520, World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service. This game wasn't terrible. What I ran into is it has miniatures in it, and the copy I was playing weren't painted or anything like that. But like some of those miniatures are like special characters. So like if you're in a space with a special character, you can do certain things. And like not being super versed in the game, and like those miniatures don't have any details on them. So what is it? So you're in this place, and unless you're really paying attention, it's easy to forget what that special ability was. And it happened multiple times in the game. It was like, oh, I didn't realize I would do that. And it was somebody's past turn, and it made sense in the strategy. You could tell that they were trying to do, but they just didn't realize it. And so, repeated plays would probably help with this. But there was so much going on that the fact that you couldn't remember, there was an easy way to remember like what those things were to plan for that. Left kind of a sour taste in the mouth a little bit. But it's an interesting game, and I would maybe try this one again, see if my first impression holds up or not. But World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service. Number 519, The Werewolves of Miller's Hollow. I'm not a huge werewolf fan, although I don't think werewolf is terrible. But this specific version, Werewolves of Miller's Hollow, has these cards that have no words on them, but there's like these special abilities. You gotta remember what these special abilities are. If you're playing with a large group of people, everyone has to remember what these pictures are without asking, because once you ask a question, then you've kind of given away information. And for that reason, I don't love the Werewolves of Miller's Hollow, which is I own this box, but we end up getting Ultimate Werewolf because of that issue. The Lady and the Tiger. I played this at BGG Spring. I know there's multiple different games in the box. You can play by different rules, but we played the one where you had like the grid of cards and you were I can't remember what the goal of the game was. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful illustrations, high quality cards. I almost wanted to just own the box, but I was really underwhelmed by the gameplay of at least the version of the one game I played. But man, just a beautiful production. I wish I liked the game more, other than that. But 518, Lady and the Tiger. Cathedral. Here's why I like Cathedral more than I like Blockus, but is the cool 3D buildings. Is what it really comes down to. But Cathedral is an interesting, it's abstract tile laying game. You have these different shaped buildings, and you're trying to get a majority or like wall off part of the city and to score those points. Anyway, it's not a great game for me. It's a whole 2-player abstract strategy, but I do think it's a cool like centerpiece, table piece there. World's Fair 1893. I was excited for this game when I got it. I was a little underwhelmed. It was a little too basic for me. I didn't feel like the strategy was enough there to hold my attention for multiple plays, and I ended up getting rid of it. One of the few games I've gotten rid of out of my collection. But number 516, World's Fair 1893. 515, Haunted Castle. This is like a spot it type game, but you're trying to see what's missing. So every card has all the same characters on it in different pattern, like in different spots on the card. But you're trying to find who's missing from the card. And this played fairly okay with when I used to do my 4th grade lunchtime gaming group. The kids always like to play this, and I had a good time playing with them. For some reason, this works better for me than Spot It, where you're trying to match from your card to the other card. And the same thing like with the Jungle Speed, where you're trying to match your card to the other card, and you're looking back and forth. This one is like, okay, what's missing? What's missing? Everyone's kind of on an equal footing, and at least the way my brain works is really competitive between me and these 4th graders. I think that's a good game when an adult and kids can play together. Maybe I'm just dumb. But 515, Haunted Castle. But it's just a looking for pictures game, and so it's not that great. Star Trek 5-Year Mission. Man, this ranked so low because I barely remember playing it, and I really only remember my emotion. I don't even remember. I know it's like a cooperative game, and you're rolling dice to put them on the card. I don't know. I mean, I don't remember it being super great. I don't remember it being really bad. I remember after I played that, I was like, I don't know if I need to play this one again. So, not exactly good. Star Trek 5-Year Mission. Tesla versus Edison, War of Currents. This is... I felt like the strategy in here was kind of broken. I didn't have a ton of fun playing it, so it gets a discount. 513, Tesla versus Edison, War of Currents. Tapple. This is just the alphabet game where you're trying to say things, but it has like a hot potato type aspect to it. So you have this object that you're passing around, but once you say a word with that letter in the category, nobody else can say a word that starts with that letter, and so it gets progressively harder, and you have a couple seconds to pass it, and once you have it, you have a couple seconds to come up with the word. You got to remember to hit that's the biggest thing. People forget to hit the button before they pass it, and then kind of screws up the whatever. But I've had a lot of fun with this with the kids. But it's just the alphabet game. Nothing special. But it's a kick. I found this in thrift stores a few times, so if you find one, it's probably worth the $2 to try it out, especially if you have like 8 to 10-year-old kids. Seems to fit well with them. The Bloody End. The cards on this have kind of a cool art style, and the game was tolerable, but it just didn't grab me. This being ranked 758 on BGG kind of shocks me a little bit. It doesn't seem like that highly regarded of a game, at least in the circles I run. But anyway, The Bloody End. It has like this really dark theme. It's like you're running this inn, but you're like killing bodies, and you got to keep them hidden from the sheriff. When the sheriff comes around, and you got to get people in the rooms. I don't know. It didn't grab me enough for me to rank this higher. But The Bloody End, 511. Space Cadets. This is like a real-time puzzle-y thing where you're all trying to work together to keep this spaceship on mission and not get destroyed. And It's fine. It's probably a little too rules heavy for the fun level and like the style of game it is for me. Um, and so yeah, it gets dinged a little bit. Not terrible, not just not. I don't think it's a really good game. You know, best treehouse ever by Scott Alms. I like Scott Alms games, but this one like I played this at BGG Spring with my buddy and his daughter, and like you're trying to build this treehouse, but there's like rules on who and like goals of where you wanted to build things. And I think this that kind of ruined this for me was there's like this ability to like adjust the rules after the fact and just kind of hose other people. I thought it was a really mean and like I didn't like I didn't like the way that worked at all. And so but I think the actual gameplay wasn't too bad. And I think with some tweaks in the rules, it might be a little bit better for me. But 509 best treehouse ever. 508 Solo Una Noche. This is actually I played a prototype version. They tried to fund this on Kickstarter, didn't fund. I played this at GameStorm in Portland one year, and it's a 1-versus-1 wrestling game. And the actual gameplay mechanisms, you're just playing cards trying to beat the other person. It was like a tug of war type thing. But the cards were super fun, and like and I played with one of the designers, and he made the game really fun. And but it's like this Mexican luchador wrestling theme. I think Nacho Libre, if you've seen that movie, and I don't know, just reading the cards and like getting into it was fun. And not my style of game though, and so I was a little disappointed this didn't fund. I didn't back it, but I think there's people out here who would like this game, and if it ever does pop back up or gets picked up by a publisher or whatever, I really hope these guys find somebody because I think there's a market for this game. Not necessarily me, but anyway, Solo Una Noche. Shifty-Eyed Spies. This is a game where you're sitting at the table and you're trying to use your eyes to communicate to other people who are your compatriots or whatever, like where you're at. But you're trying to do it slyly because if somebody else sees what you're doing, they can call you out and they can get points that way. So it's just this weird game of like staring at each other around the table and like trying to wait till other people aren't looking and then make eye contact with a certain person and then point your eyes towards the place where you want them to meet you at. And anyway, it has problems, but it's not a bad way to spend 10 minutes, you know. Shifty-Eyed Spies. Space Cadets Away Missions. I thought this was better than Space Cadets, but it's still not still sort of the same problem. It was like this a little too rules heavy for the silliness and like the cooperative nature. Because it's not like a serious, thinky, cooperative game. But there's a lot of things you had to remember all the time. And it's just kind of wonky. Anyway, Space Cadets Away Mission. I know there's people who like this game. It's just not in my upper tiers. Shadowhunters. I play this game way too many times for the amount that I enjoy it. I barely enjoy it. I enjoy it because I'm with my friends. We always play with the max count of like 7 or 8 players, and it's just so chaotic. It's like social deduction, but the information that you're able to glean on your turns is very low, and so it just ends up feeling random in who wins. And you just kind of shoot at people or try to stab people because you can, not necessarily because you want to. You just don't have enough information. Everything kind of comes clear at the very end every time I play it. I don't know. 505 Shadowhunters. 504 Sentinels of the Multiverse. I hear the app for this makes it great. I have not played it with the app, but from everything I've heard, I think I would like it better because I hated trying to keep track of all the bookkeeping stuff in this game, because all these like modifiers that are getting put in places, and kind of trying to keep track of those and like remember them when they matter was really hard. I got this as a gift. I played it a time or two, and just like the amount of, I always felt like I was making a mistake. I was like, oh, I forgot to count these things, and kind of ruined my plays of the game. I might want to try the app out at some point. But yeah, Sentinels of the Multiverse, physical board game, just doesn't feel like a very good game to me. Persona 5. This is the print and play board game. My daughter, really into Persona 5, she found this and she went and she crafted it and wanted me to play it. I think we played about half a game one time on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, one of the two. And that's where I found I don't like those programs, because they're really hard for me to like use the controls. But then when she actually finished crafting it and we played it in person a couple times. It's this interesting cooperative game. I feel like it's still in prototype form though. And so if there's, and like the graphic design, although it looks cool, it actually makes it really hard to read. Like the art is cool, but it makes it really hard to read the pieces and like get all the information. It took me a hard time to parse all that out. And I feel like if the person who designed this could really tighten it up, he'd have a pretty good cooperative game on their hands. And anyway, Persona 5, 503. The Great Heartland Hauling Company. This is a little like pick up deliver game, and it was okay-ish. It was, it was sort of like you had to like get gas, and like the timing of those things was just a little too hard for the level of game I felt it was. Like the amount of time the brain power I wanted to put into the game was lower than the amount of brain power I had to put into the game to make it work. And like the randomness of the card draws and stuff just kind of, I could maybe try this one again. Maybe I wouldn't be too harsh on it. But Great Heartland Hauling Company. 502. 501, Perrotin Billard. This is a extremely difficult dexterity game where you have a grid of like a wood grid and like a top canvas bottom, and then you have these balls around it, and you're trying to get your balls to the other side to attack them. And you do that by taking this big long wood handle and hitting that canvas from the bottom and trying to send those balls is extremely difficult. And that's why I don't think it's a good game. It's too hard. The balls never end, and because of the grid, it's like there's very finicky. You can hit what you feel is a great shot, but you missed it by just a micrometer, and it bounces in a weird way, falls off the table. It's just really hard. It is kind of fun trying to do it though. Getting it down, and when you do make a good shot, you feel good, but almost feels lucky because how did I do that? Big Dig, number 500. I felt like this needed to be developed a little bit better. It's actually kind of a cool flipping rank where you're flipping these cards and everybody has this board, and you're trying to get to fulfill the goals of the board, and you're trying to get from one location to another, and you're trying to dig these tunnels with the shapes that are flipping over on these cards. And it's okay, except for it's a race game, and there's no like balancing for like turn order or whatever. And so first player has this giant advantage. They can win the game having one extra turn, basically, in the advantage position. And that's exactly how it's played out for me. And so it's pretty fun, but the race aspect to it, I think, is broken. And there's like, it needs a rule in there to fix and balance that out a little bit, or a different type of win condition where it's not a race. I don't know. I mean, it's inoffensive. 15-minute game. And I do like the flip right aspect of it. But the end game, I don't know, it needs a different end game goal or something to make this a good game. $4.99 Pairs. I'd probably rank this lower, except for I have so much fun playing it with my friends. So it gets some spots up there. You could almost play it on autopilot. There's like one decision to make. I don't know. And it's one of these games where like one person loses, everybody else wins. Maybe that's why I like it. It makes me feel better. I win more often. But I don't know. It's just it's a filler. Trying to suck up 5 to 10 minutes while you're waiting for the other table to finish. Whip out Pairs. Play that for a little while. It's fine. Number 498, New York Slice. Play this at BGG Spring with my buddy and his daughter. This is like the I cut you choose type thing. It's like re-implementation of another version of this game that's with cake or pie or something like that. And I'm forgetting the name of it at the moment. But anyway, it was fun. I felt like the scoring was a little too complicated, or like there were some weird distinctions, and I don't know. Maybe I need to give this one another try. Just wasn't quite what I wanted. But anyway, New York Slice, really cool game actually. It looks like a pizza. Comes in a pizza box. The pieces look really cool. But anyway, $4.97 DC Comics deck building game. I like deck builders. This one just felt so generic, and I didn't get it. I was just playing, I was punching. I don't know. It was okay-ish. I don't know. Didn't feel like it was a good game at all. Gumball Rally. This had like a weird like positional aspect to it. It's you're racing cars, and you're trying to get into position. You're doing some simultaneous selection, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a short game. Wasn't a big deal. Didn't feel great, but it's a thing I played. $4.95 Monza. I played this a couple times actually while it was on display, like on different days at a game store. I was with my kids, and we played this, and my kids are kind of aged out of it now, but it was, at the time, it was a good racing game with that age group. Pretty basic, but you roll these dice, and you try to match the colors to get the car through the track. So you have to win with the dice, but especially for little kids, it kind of teaches them how to recognize patterns or find like the efficient route in the kind of a really slick way, especially for kids. Didn't hate it, but this isn't something I'm gonna buy, or like I said, my kids have kind of aged out of it, and so not something I'm gonna fret about. But if you do have little kids, this actually might be a good game for you. Primordial Soup. How good is Primordial Soup? I really only played half of this game. I showed up to a game night kind of late, and some other guy was in the middle of this game, and it was going a little long for him. He thought it was going to be shorter, and he had to go to work. He was working graveyard, and so I jumped in and finished the game for him. I played like 2 turns, just trying to figure out what was going on, and I tried to do something. I said, no, you can't do that. What can I do? Do this? Okay, I'll do that. And that was so enjoyable that I got this to $4.94. I didn't even play the whole game. But I also didn't play the whole game. It's hard for me to give it a really good once over. And I'm not super compelled to go back to it, so this felt like $4.94. I did count it as a play because I felt like I got the gist of the game, and I was there for the end of the game scoring and whatever. But anyway, Primordial Soup, $4.94. $4.93 Labyrinth, $4.93. Labyrinth is kind of geared towards kids, but you're pushing these tiles onto a game board, which changes the pathways. And so you're trying to get through the maze and adjust these tiles so you can get to your goals. And that puzzle is interesting, but it's also really hard sometimes and a lot of thinkiness. And this is like okay. I don't feel like it's a good game, but I can see why it's as popular as it is. I think it sold a bunch. You see it all the time. But Labyrinth, number 493. Lost Valley, the Yukon Gold Rush, 1896. This game, I've played it twice, and I think we played by the wrong rules twice. Something about how to build something. We did it wrong both times we played it, I think. But how to describe this game? It's not that good, I guess. It felt it was a little long. You're like trying to. There's like this discovery as you're going out, and you're going to flip tiles over and bring them out, and so you're discovering new parts. But because you don't know where things are, it's kind of random, and so you could be trying to do something, but those tiles aren't flipping the way you want them to flip, or you get great tiles and they flip over great for you, and everything works out. But you're trying to find gold different ways, like going into caves or panning for it, building flues to run the water, and just trying to get some gold. I don't know. 492. Dungeon Quest. This is an old what's the word? Dungeon, whatever. As you're going through the dungeon, and it's old. It shows its age, but it's good. Ish. I don't love like the dungeon crawlers. Where I was looking for dungeon crawlers are not my jam, but this was, this was silly. This was a thing. You're going in there. I think there were some monsters I think you could run into. But it felt a little random. You could definitely tell it was made a long time ago, just by the graphics and also like sort of how the rules worked. But Dungeon Quest. Kill Dr. Lucky. I had heard some things about this, and so I like this more than I felt like the general consensus was with other people I talked to about it. But this is it's like a better Clue. The movement rules are a little wonky. It's not a great game, not even like a really good game. But I think if you like deduction games and like stuff like that, you're trying to move through, it might be a game worth playing for you. But not a great one for me. Ivanhoe, right? Reiner Knizia. So this is like a weird combat, like you're doing like these different combats. So depending on what combat's happening, different cards are more beneficial. And there was like this rule about how you get your cards back if you lose or win, or I can't remember. Really random, really weird. I've only played this once, and I don't think I really understood the game until maybe the very end, and maybe not even then. But it wasn't. I didn't have a bad time with it, but it also, I'm not asking to play Ivanhoe. Anyway, 489. 488, head-to-head poker. This is another Reiner Knizia. And this is a lot like Lost Cities, Battle Line type game. Probably more like Battle Line, but you're using poker cards. And so you're kind of playing on your side, trying to build the best poker hands in like 3 or 4 or 5 different rows. And then it even has like different rules, like it's a different kind of... There's just some little tweaks depending on the round. I think you roll a die to decide what the rule is for that round. And then, anyway, it's not as good as Battle Line. But I found it at a thrift store for like $2. It was fine for that. I had fun with it for the couple plays ahead of it, but it's not a Battle Line is like done right. It's like this game, like perfected. This is like the prototype that also got published. Is what I feel like with this one. So not quite there yet. Battle Line will be much higher, I'm sure. 487 Happy Salmon. Previous video I talked about Funky Chicken, which is the same game with dance moves. This one is all about hand slapping. So I'm recording this during the COVID seasons, and so can't play this game because you can't touch each other's hands. But this is you're trying to find somebody else with the same card as you, and then you give them a high five, or you do the happy sand, which is like slapping your hand against their forearms. And I don't know. It's a fun 3 minutes. It is not a deep game. And over repeated plays, it gets a little samey. But bring it out every once in a while, kill a few minutes. I brought this out of the family gathering, and just different groups of people kept playing it for a good while. Everybody wanted in on it. Even my mom get up there and try to play that game. Anyway, Happy Salmon. Not a great game, but it's a good time sometimes. Duel in the Dark. I play this game. Ooh. This is way back when I started playing games, and it was 1v1 trying to get these airplanes, and I didn't like it. Kind of a cool production with the airplanes, and they have little standees, and but if you want to do like a plane thing, like the Wings of War is better. Anyway, Duel in the Dark wasn't terrible, but I also didn't light my fire at all. Frog Riders. It's a Stronghold game, right? Frog Riders is an abstract strategy game which you can play with up to 4 players, and you have these different colored frogs that you are leapfrogging over, but you can also get like these scoring cards and like these special ability cards that let you play a little bit differently, and it's interesting, but it's still a little bit too much like checkers for me to like give it like, yeah, it's a great game, but better than chess, better than checkers, better than Go. Frog Riders. Faye. What didn't I like about Faye? Faye was a little too like you're trying to set up like majorities and things, if I'm remembering this correctly. It just didn't grab me, I guess. Not my style. It wasn't like my style of game. Didn't quite grab me. It has like these pretty cool pieces though. Remember, like the tactile feel of those pieces was really cool. Like these little statue-y type things. Yeah, I don't know. Just wasn't a great game for me anyway. 483 Age of War. This is the re-implementation of Risk Express, which I panned earlier in one of the other videos. I do like this one a little bit. Anyway, I had more fun with this one when I played it. I played it a few times. I own this one, and you're just rolling the dice, and you're trying to get the symbols on your dice to match all the symbols on different cards, and then you're trying to get the sets of cards for some bonus points. Some cards are harder than others. I don't know. It just there's something about it. It just too lucky. Just too lucky, I guess. The dice rolling doesn't feel like there's any mitigation, so you're just rolling the dice and hoping to get what you want to get. Anyway, Age of War. 42 Magic Maze. I know people really like this game. It's one of those games where it's limited communication. The cool thing about this game is like everybody has like a thing that they can do, and only they can do, or maybe only a couple people can do, like move in a certain direction. And so everybody's moving. but you can't talk, and so like one person might be moving one direction, and then somebody else thinks that they need to move a different way, but that wasn't really the plan that the other person was thinking of, and so you're trying to work together without talking. Just the craziest thing was like you're like a Dungeons and Dragons group that needs supplies, so they go to the mall, but they don't have any money, so they're just stealing stuff and trying not to get caught by security. You know, I played it a couple times. It was okay-ish, you know, not great for me, not good for me. But man, I know there's people who really like this game, and they should like it if they like it. Space Cadets Dice Duel. This is I like the Dice Duel a little bit better than the other ones, but it still has the same problem. Where it's just a little more too complicated for the type of game that it is for me. Kind of clever little puzzles with the dice. But yeah, it's the same as all the other Space Cadets for me. It feels like there's too much mental load for a game as silly as it feels like it should be to me. Fields of Green. This is like the farming version of Among the Stars, where you're like drafting these tiles and trying to get them in the right way to fulfill scoring conditions. I didn't love it. This is pretty well liked on BGG, ranked 800, the 7.2. Just not great for me. Can't even think about why I don't like it. I think I like Among the Stars better. It's going to come up here later, later spot. We'll see where that ends up. But there's something about when I play this one, I didn't have as good of a time as everybody else was having. And it wasn't good for me. And it wasn't because I was losing. I wasn't having fun with it. Feudality by Tom Wham. So this game was okay. The graphic design is terrible. And the art, it looks real cheap. But it's so you're rolling dice and you're building things on your little grid, and as depending on what the dice rolls are, you get stuff or to build up, and you're trying to do a thing. It was a fine time, hour and a half game, something like that. Then it was over, and then I moved on with my life. Not a great game, but it is what it is. Eminent Domain Microcosm. I quite like Eminent Domain. Microcosm is like a 2-player, like miniature version game. It's like 18 cards or whatever. One of the worst rule books I feel like I've ever tried to parse. For as little and like little a game it is, they try to make the rules really condensed, and I think that was a mistake because I had to I read them several times, and then I couldn't feel like I could even teach it. It sat on my shelf forever, and then I had somebody ask me, I was like, well, let's see if we can figure it out. And together, it took us a lot of time to figure out how to play the game, and I feel like we still messed up some rules, and I don't know. I have a friend who I remember the year this came out. He mentioned at least one time in passing that this was his game of the year. Like, he loved it, and so and I could see where it'd get better if I really understood the rules, but it was a little too quick for me. Really hard to parse the rules out, and so this loses quite a bit of ground overall for me. But Eminent Domain Microcosm 478. Also, the game comes with some of the cards in the deck aren't for the game. They're like promos for other games or like little mini expansions. And it took me forever to figure out which cards I was supposed to be playing with. That's another thing. Anyway. Dungeon Fighter. This number 477. This game is silly. You're like going through a dungeon, but you're rolling these dice onto a target. And then there's like silly rules like you have to like toss them under a leg, or you have to stand backwards and toss them. And then I don't know, a little too silly for me. I don't know. It was kind of fun when we played it, but I've never had like a hankering to play it again. Dungeon Fighter, silly game. Make and Break. So this is like a speed game. You're like trying to build. You're gonna flip over cards, and you're gonna try and build a thing that's on the card as fast as you can with the blocks. Make and Break Extreme was I didn't like it as much. It was like too hard. It didn't quite work as well. This one's pretty good. My kids like this game, but I had to change the rules, and so I probably would have ranked this higher, except for the rule that was written, or the game as it's intended to be played, has like some serious flaws in it. One, you like randomly draw how much time you have to build. So some people might get 3 minutes, and some people might get 1 minute, but the points are how many cards you build. So obviously, if you get a build for a longer time, it might be like 90 seconds versus 30 seconds. Anyway. And so we house rule it. Everybody gets the same amount of time. And for my younger kids, I might give them a few more extra seconds. But I just feel like that rule, it's a bad game design rule. And so the fun of building all those things as fast as you can is fun. But the game, it's a bad rule. Don't make that rule. That rule's dumb. And so the fact that I had a house rule to make the game okay brings us down a little lower on the list. Red November. This one plays with time in a really cool way. And this game is the one that made me really want to search out more games that played with time. So every action takes more time, sort of like Dragon and Flagon. So I can do this thing, so it takes me 6 time, and so only the last person, whoever's last, gets to keep going until they pass other people. So you might do an action, but then the goal of this game is actually you're on the submarine that's sinking, and so you're trying to save the submarine. But at a certain point in the game, you can decide that saving the submarine is not possible, and you can jump ship. And if you jump ship and the submarine sinks, you win, I guess, kind of. But if you jump ship and they somehow save the submarine, you lose. So it's sort of a weird rule. It has some silly thematic ties to it, like to get health or energy or whatever, like you're like these gnomes on a ship, and so you go get drunk in the one room to like get more energy, or I don't know. The theme on this is weird, but Red November. I feel like I would like a slightly tweaked version of this game a little better. And so, anyway, I look forward to that happening at some point in the future. Because I do feel like it's a decentish game, but it was really long for what it is. And that's kind of what is hammering it down in this low. Code 777. It's kind of interesting. You have tiles that you can't see, and like you're asking questions, trying to narrow down what your tiles possibly could be, and you're trying to figure out what your tiles are. You can see everybody else's, but you can't see your own. And you're asking questions like narrow down what things are. Yeah, it was hard. It's a little too hard. I liked the deduction aspect of it, but it was just a little too hard. For me, anyway. I'm sure other people are better at it and like the game better. Break the Code. Very similar game, actually, you're trying to, depending on the player count, you're trying to figure out what the numbers are, and the questions are a little easier for my head to parse. And so, I think I like it a little bit better than Code 777. There's actually a cooperative, depending on the player count. It's like cooperative. And I've played it with all the different player counts, and it's a different feel every time, but it's the same basic game of what you're trying to do. Anyway, if you like games like that, Code 77 and Break the Code. If you like, my wife loves this game, and so if you like that kind of thing, it's not a bad game. But for me, it's not my favorite way to spend my time. Black Hole Council. Oh man, Don Eskridge, right? Is that his name? He is the designer of this game. Middle of the night at BGG Spring, I was walking by and I saw these people playing this. It looked like a prototype, and I was just kind of looking in on what they were doing. And I talked to Don for a minute, and he was telling me that it was his new game that he was designing, and it looked intriguing. When the Kickstarter came out, I read up on it. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. So I ended up backing it, and so it's like a negotiation game where you're trying to negotiate getting certain things, and there's votes and whatever. So you're trying to finagle it. The reason I didn't love this game was there's an aspect of this game where you're trying to guess what your neighbor is wanting, and if you guess right, you get points. And my neighbor, I guess I wasn't very good at hiding my intentions. He always knew what I was trying to do, and I could not figure out for the life of me what other people really wanted. And so he racked up a bunch of points on that, and I think I scored like 1 point during the game using that part of the game. And although I felt like I played the rest of the game okay, I don't know. I would like to play this game again a couple times maybe, but my group didn't love it, and so it probably won't get played. I don't know. Black Hole Council. Bang the Dice game. My favorite way to play Bang. It's more random, but it plays quicker, and like fun things happen during the game because of the dice rolls, and there's a little tension I feel is there that's not in the regular Bang and Samurai Sword. But in the end, you're just rolling dice and you're trying to kill other people. It's sort of like the Shadowhunters thing. It's like you don't have enough information to do a good job at the deduction part of it. And so you're just kind of randomly hoping you kill the right people so you can win. Anyway, Bang the Dice game. 2 Rooms and a Boom. I would actually I've only played this once. I would like to play it some more with a big group of people. This is a great game because you can play it with a really large number of people. But you're two teams. One team has a president, one team has a bomber. You're going to play 3 rounds, and you're going to be trading people from one room to the other. And the goal is to just try to get the president and the bomber in the same room. Well, if you're the president, you're trying to be in the room where the bomber is not, and then the other team is trying to get the bomber in the room where the president is, so they can kill the president. And I don't know. As far as social deduction, like it's different because you get up, you're physically moving around, you're like asking questions, you're like having conversations. You can do this with a really large group of people, and like you have to mingle and try to get some information, and then you're doing some voting. The game portion of it maybe is not as solid as I would hope it would be, but like the concept of it is really cool. Because I don't know, probably half the time accidentally the bomber gets in with the president, not because anybody did anything smart. It just happened to be there. You move people around and you end up in the same room and the game's over. But anyway, Ascension, the deck building game. Man, people like this game. I know I played it. I barely remember playing it. It felt like I don't know. Felt like a not as good version of Dominion to me when I played it. And it was kind of weird. I don't know. It was just okay. Just okay. For me. Obviously, other people feel differently. But Bloom. This is a roll and write game where you're trying to get bouquets of flowers to customers. And so you're taking So you're rolling these colored dice, and you're taking a die, and you're trying to get the flowers, but you have to take them from the adjacent places. So, and having the wrong color flower in a bouquet is detrimental. And then also not fulfilling the wishes of the customer is bad. I was hoping this was going to be better than I like other games. This comes in like that magnet top box that like Quicks comes in, and like Rolling America, and those are games I enjoy, and and so I'm always willing to give these games a try that come in that box. This one, not quite as good. I don't know. Maybe I've only played it once. Maybe a couple more plays and it might go up, but it didn't feel quite good enough to me. Anyway, Bloom. 467 Millennium Blades. I would rank this one higher, except for like the information overload was so much for me that it made it hard for me to play. It was just so busy. It's like so. The theme of the game is it's like simulating collectible card game culture, I guess. So like you're buying these packs of cards, and then you're trying to put together these combos in the tournament, and whoever does the best job doing that wins. And I don't know, it was hard to get my head wrapped around everything. And then the prospect of maybe if I'd played it again like the next day and got a good grip on it, but then I've only played it once, and every day that goes by since I've played it, I feel like I'm losing more and more information that is critical to understanding how to play the game. So like if I had a weekend and I could play it like every day, like 4 days in a row, this might be a really, really good game and that I could really dig into. But I just don't have the time to like get past that scratched surface. And so and for that reason, I just can't rank it very high personally. But Millennium Blades. La Isla. This is a Stefan Feld game. This is my lowest ranked Stefan Feld game, maybe. I ended up getting rid of this game. After I got rid of it, I tried to play it online. I think it's on EdotGdot.de, and which it has terrible graphic design in that game on the digital version. But oh man, I really like Stefan Feld, but this is not one of his stronger games for me. It's just like you're trying to send the guys to the areas and like lock up things, and you're trying to get things in a circle or matched up, and it was almost like too abstract strategy for me. Like, not that it's a great thematic tie-in for any of his games, but this one just felt more like almost like Circus, which was one of my lowest ranked games. More gamery than that, and so obviously it's better, but it's almost felt like that's what style of game it was. Not my favorite. But if you're Stefan Feld and for some reason you ran across this video, don't feel too bad. You're going to have a bunch of other games later on, many videos from now. Spoiler alert. And then 465 Mystery Rummy, Escape from Alcatraz. So Wyatt Earp was on the last video. This is another game sort of in that vein. Here you are. So I'm trying to remember the thematic here. You're on Alcatraz, and I think you're trying to foil people's escape plans. You're guards, and you're trying to foil the plans by collecting cards, rummy style, and playing them. This one has there's like these events that happen when certain things happen in the game. I can't remember exactly what those things are, but kind of give like bend the rules a little bit, make things happen, and it's interesting. I played this once, and we played it 2-player, and I think this is why this is a good game is over the first couple rounds, the rounds can play out differently. They can play really fast, or they can get really drawn out, and scores can swing pretty wildly depending on how you can play that out. And so the game time I played this, I actually built up quite a bit of a lead, and I felt like I could be fairly conservative last round, kind of push towards the end of the game. But my opponent did something pretty crazy and was able to score just a bunch of points the last round and just eked out the win. And it made it a better game. Again, I don't like Rummy in general. And the other Mystery Rummy game, there's some other Mystery Rummy games that I have not tried, and maybe those do things better also. I didn't love Wyatt Earp, but this one is a little bit better as far as Rummy games go. 464 is Android Netrunner. I've tried it. I bought this. I tried it with a few different times. Played it once with my buddy Ian, and we were both kind of learning the game, and I don't know, didn't really land for me. I played it again with somebody who was really into it, and is it Richard Garfield? It was a collectible card game back in the day, in the days of Magic being big, and how there were all those collectible card games out. But this version was the living card game, and so like packs would come out. So you weren't searching for this. All I had was the base game, and just this it's two players. One's a corporation, one's the runner, the hacker or whatever, and they're trying to breach the defenses of the other. And I won one time where I did a really dumb thing, but it confused the other player and just kind of psyched him out. And I didn't feel like that was a satisfying way to win. I laid a trap in a really dumb way, but because it was so dumb, it confused them. But this game is loved by a lot of people. The people who are into this play this game and they love it. And that guy I played, he loved the game. It was his jam. And I don't know. It's not mine. It's better than Magic. Magic, you're just kind of hitting each other and you're trying to get these combos together. And this one has a little mind game to it, and it has weird stuff. But man, I think I've played at least 4 times, and the terminology just kept always confused me. Can I do this? Can I do this? I don't know. Anyway, Android Netrunner 464. And the last one for this video, number 463, Railroad Revolution. I played this once at BGG Spring. Played a lot of games at BGG Spring, a lot of bad games apparently, because I've said that a lot so far. And it seemed fine. And then I got it for real cheap on Miniature Market as part of some other order I was putting together, and it was real cheap. And I tried a couple more times, and it has like all the trappings of a game I'd really like, but it was like it was like the one strategy with the telegraphs or whatever at the bottom was so like the first person to do that well had a pretty big advantage in the other games I played of it, and kind of ruined the game for me a little bit. And so I don't feel like this is a great game. It's not even a good game. Railroad Revolution. It's not terrible. It just isn't really good. And as we end this video today, that's sort of like how we're going to be going forward. So this is these games here. This is sort of like these are the games, and as you can tell, I'm probably a little more positive as I kept going along. They're just not quite there for me. This next one, they're going to keep getting better and better. In the next video, these are games that are, they're still not great games, but they're not bad games, and so that's where we're going. So if you want to stick with me, there'll be a few more games in this series as we get all the way as we march towards number 1. But this is EdotGdot and Friends. I'm Elden Killian, and I will bid you adieu.